Hello everyone, it is me again, Savant 2.0. I have been listening to one of my subscribers' advice on my voice. I am currently investing in another microphone, because my current one is trashed and the capsule is completely detached, so I cannot interpret human voice at the moment, but it will, soon. Anyways, today we will be reviewing Teminite, also known as Samuel Naris's new EP, Unstoppable, a 4-track EP, his first multi-song project for 11 months. However, this is not Zam's first release this year. Beginning on March, he released a funky remix of Swing It Dixieland's single, Party Like It's 1923. Following a collab with MDK, Space Invaders, which later turned into a remix contest. And with Wales, previously known as Sex Whales, on a tune called Mayhem. If you are not familiar with Sam's work, I would highly suggest one of my favorite singles, Never Give Up, released in October 2016. Just one of the many melodic classics from him. Without further ado, let's get on, shall we? Starting out the EP with some lovely strings, and oh my god, that melodic pre-drop, as I would call it, with that chiptune ARP and choir sample layered together, so fucking nice. Can't forget one of those classic Teminite leads. Soon we hear the 8th notes of the piano fading in along with those high-octave vocals, and then the drop. Quarter notes of a rich double layer comprised of a gritty bass patch taking over the low and high ends, and sound filling the mids, as well as a half-note growl in the last 5 beats of that loop segment. Second drop is more of a 1-bar dubstep, and 1-bar 8 notes of arpeggiated bass and a synth. Did I mention there was quick piano playing in both interludes? Really plays a part as the theme for the EP titled track. Some future bass in there as well as an electric guitar and quick notes layered in the third drop already displays some sort of diversity, and yet it sticks with Sam's taste and instrument fascination. The last half of the final drop ends with the lead using that same guitar. This track is very centered around 8th notes and melodic dubstep in an introductory form for both heavy and light dubstep listeners. Those bells in the beginning soon transition into Zam's deep modulated vocals, which I've missed for quite a while. First drop's main emphasis is of course that vocal pitching upward note, with the background lead mimicking that harmony which masters the sound a little more. I sort of wish there was a growl thrown in there. Don't get me wrong, this actually marks as a favorite for me, which I'll explain why in a bit. However, that vocal is the only sound that almost pops out to me in that moment, mostly because it sounds so lively, but of course it steals the thunder from the rest of the drop. Then the interlude meets a dynamic break with a piano note every bar for a while going into Zam's vocals yet again. Then goes one of his sax solos again, oh boy, and you'd think it really was. Not really a bass drop, but holy shit, do I feel like I'm in fucking Mario Kart in the final course of winning the last cup in the game. To be specific, it gives me the vibes of playing against my English teacher in freshman year last day of school on the Nintendo 64 while my classmates were cheering me on, which I wish would have happened since he actually did play with the funny kid in class and I watched as the quiet kid in the back. Anyways, dubstep tempo favoring drum and bass carries over the sax segment in a very appropriate manner. I mean, don't you feel like racing against your high school bully? Overall, the build-ups are filled up well with a chilling choir accompanying those vocals, so nothing bad to say except the vocal drop, just a little bit. The intro already gives me some nostalgia from listening to music distributed by NCS, as we are met with an electro house tempo giving off the indication of a complex trick drop ahead of us. Anyways, back to the intro, there's some synth vibes immediately. This track certainly is a breather from the heaviness so far. It could almost serve as an interlude track of the EP, but of course, only 4 tracks. As for the first and third build-ups, there could be a riser inserted into them. The percussion could use a helping hand, only a minor negative. However, there is a piano in the background that seems to float around the stereo field and complement those build-ups nicely. And the drop. Definitely a throwback to Space Invaders. As for that, they really make me binge repeat the drop for some good amount of time, cause they're juicy as fuck, as well as the last bar of the loop having a good sub-melody, which is not the only one in the drop segment. That is what makes a creative twist to an electro house drop. Another catchy melody awaits us in the first interlude, transitioning into a dubstep breakdown. Sure, it's not a heavy drop, and could have used more of that a bit more frequently, but nonetheless, the third drop is a slight mirror of the first one, this time with a couple of elements from the dubstep middle drop. Nothing much that is new after that, but this is a neat song to hum to. And immediate return to Zam's vocals, with some chimes. The segment of those chimes for some reason remind of Chime, Side the Crest with Lonely Moon. Does it not? Anyways, following a piano sweeping the lower frequencies that, if you paid attention closely, you will notice it. Commencing the first drop, we hear a high-pitched lead along with an 8th note bass patch, again filling up the spectrum as needed. Pretty much the same concept as Unstoppable's drops. The start of the interlude gives us a familiar sound from the previous track, Break Free, which is a nice touch to bring in some continuity. However, there is approximately 2.5 minutes before we get to the second drop, so unfortunately, the interlude drags on a bit. I hate to say it, but I did find myself in a similar situation in Inception's title track released with the album back in 2016. In this predicament, there could have been a double drop, for example. The first drop is sort of copy-pasted into the second one afterward, so maybe separate it into a middle drop, splitting the interlude so it doesn't seem too long. As for good attributes of this midsection, the fine dynamic build-up into a choir and lead solo emerges into a catchy melody containing rock-inspired chords with tribal drums. It really does, hold on, emotional justice, because it motivates the listener to get the fuck back up, so it is a soothing touch. Then the last drop of the EP technically brings back a gruesome riff on that gnarly Teminite growl, bringing back the heavy portion of Zam's project into fruition. His vocals then conclude the track. So the Unstoppable EP is rather enticing to listen to. The whole runtime was worth going through completely, except for dragging interlude moments in Hold On, and the vocal stab isolation in Believe's first drop. But Sam is well known for not only his instrumental talent in interpreting them into electronic dance music, but also filling up the most necessary frequencies. His dynamic control is exquisite and cleverly composes moments of silence, only when it's highly needed. In terms of diversity, there's sadly not as much different genres built into this as the usual album from Sam. With 3 dubstep tempo tracks and a complex song, an exception of Hold On more inclined to 140 from what I hear. The EP is relatively short, however each track does not go under 5 minutes. All those incredible instrument ideas have got to go somewhere, right? Compared to his last album, Uprising, released last fall, this EP is a bit more oriented toward melodic song harmony rather than heavy drops, even though there are several throughout the 4 tracks, as well as no collaborations this time, declaring this is a solo EP. This is not at all a bad thing, because we get the most out of Sam's experimental methods of musical composition. The last drop of Hold On still defines a slight change in his growl bass, which is fantastic. Sam's sound design is still expanding. Overall, you should definitely support Mr. Nars's hard work put into this EP. Amazing catchy tunes as always from him. Cannot wait to see more Teminite bangers. And please, make a United States tour debut, Sam. It will be an honor for you to break into this repetitive dubstep scene, which is subjective, but you would make an outstanding diverse act. Anyways, this has been episode of 3 of Analysis and Review. Farewell.